common view is that consciousness is something the brain produces. But is that really the case? Because no matter how much we learn about neurons, chemistry, and electrical signals in the brain, we still can't explain why any of it should feel like anything from the inside. Not a single theory on that. And when you actually look at it, some philosophers and physicists have started asking a much stranger question. What if consciousness isn't created by reality? What if reality is created within consciousness? What if the thing you've always assumed was produced by the universe is actually the thing producing your experience of the universe? Physics, Consciousness and Reality, Dickie Dredd and Nigel Adams. We're on part 20 in the video series, still on chapter 3, Consciousness at the Frontier. And today we're on section 17, Consciousness as Fundamental, Philosophical and Scientific Theories. In section 2, we looked at theories that treat consciousness as an emergent property. The brain builds complex processes and consciousness pops out the top. But there's another camp that flips the frame. Maybe consciousness isn't the after effect. Maybe it's the foundation. Matter and space-time arise from consciousness, not the other way around. Sounds radical today. The idea has deep roots both in philosophy and science. Historically, you can trace this back to idealism in Western philosophy. In the 18th century, thinkers like George Berkeley argued that reality is ultimately mental, that physical objects are bundles of perceptions in the mind of God. But not many modern scientists would buy Berkeley's theology, but the core intuition that mind comes first has echoed down the centuries. In the 20th century, a version of this cropped up in the work of physicists unsettled by quantum mechanics. John von Neumann, and later Eugene Wigner, suggested that the collapse of the wave function might require consciousness. In this view, the observer isn't just another physical system. The act of awareness plays a unique role in bringing reality into definite form. Most physicists now shy away from that interpretation, but it planted a seed. Maybe consciousness isn't just inside the system, maybe it shapes the system. Fast forward, and we get more current scientific takes. One is panpsychism, which has gained surprising traction recently. The idea here is that consciousness is a basic feature of the universe, like mass or charge. Not that rocks think deep thoughts, but that all matter has proto-conscious aspects, tiny sparks of experience. Put together in complex forms like brains, you get the rich consciousness we know. Philosophers like Garland Strawson and Philip Goff defend this view today, arguing that it avoids the hard problem of consciousness. If consciousness is already in the fabric of reality, you don't have to explain how it emerges from dead matter. Another approach is neutral monism, linked to William James and Bertrand Russell. Instead of mind and matter being separate, or one reducing to the other, neutral monism says there's more basic stuff that underlies both. Consciousness and matter are two faces of this neutral substrate. Some physicists now talk about quantum information or proto-experiential fields in similar terms. And if this is tricky, take a look material in the bibliography or feel free to just let it float by. And then there's Donald Hoffman's interface theory. Evolution didn't shape us to see reality, only to survive. Consciousness isn't built from matter. Instead, consciousness is the ground, and what we see as matter and space-time are icons in a user interface. His team even models this mathematically, though mainstream science has yet to embrace it fully. We also have integrated approaches from physics. John Wheeler's famous it from bit hinted that information might be fundamental. Some extend this to it from qubit, and then ask if information is fundamental, maybe consciousness is too, since information has no meaning without an experiencer. The physicist Henry Strapp pushed this line further, attempting to tie quantum collapse directly to conscious choice, building on ideas first explored by Eugene Wigner, a Nobel Prize-winning physicist who argued that consciousness would play a fundamental role in the measurement problem of quantum mechanics, as we discussed above. In his famous Wigner's Friend thought experiment, he highlighted the paradox of observations, suggesting that the act of conscious awareness might be what ultimately collapses the quantum system into a definite state. Roger Penrose also moves in this direction, proposing that consciousness is not reducible to classical computation, may instead arise from quantum processes within the brain. He's gone further than most by attempting to identify specific biological structures, such as microtubules within neurons, that could support these processes, bringing physics, biology and the philosophy of mind in a way that remains highly controversial. Critics say these theories risk sliding into mysticism. They can't yet produce hard predictions, but the defenders reply that at least they address the hard problem of consciousness head on. Mainstream neuroscience explains function, but not feeling. Consciousness first theories, feeling is the foundation. Everything else, physics, space-time matter, is the elaboration. So we now have two camps. The emergentists, consciousness as the last domino, tipped over by the brain, and the fundamentalists, consciousness as the first domino, with the universe itself as the unfolding line of dominoes. Neither camp has cracked it. Emergentist theories stumble on qualia. Fundamentalist theories struggle with testability. And as we'll see, the mere fact that serious philosophers and physicists are entertaining consciousness-first models show how unsatisfied people are with the brain as a machine story. So if consciousness is fundamental, then illusion, ethics, free will, even the physics of space-time take on a different flavour. It's not about how subjective experience pops out of the objective world. It's about how the objective world itself might be a kind of shared interface within consciousness. The debate may not be about how consciousness emerges from matter at all. The debate, maybe the matter, space and time might not be the deepest level of reality. So rather than asking how does the brain create experience, perhaps we should ask, why have we assumed experience isn't fundamental in the first place? And are we trying to explain consciousness from within a reality that consciousness itself helps create? So next up, we're still in Chapter 3, Consciousness at the Frontier, and we'll go to Section 18, which is Artificial Intelligence Research, What Machines Teach Us About the Mind. And that'll be Part 1, because we've got 2 parts on AI. Okay, and the book is now available, and you can get it at either of those links.